Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, viewers of all ages, welcome back to the video. Today we are going over the next set of limited time free, which is going to be these three lovely assets that are going to be free until September, I'm sorry, the 9th. I was doing in for 9 and got all mixed up there. It seems like only a few hours ago I was doing the previous week's free assets. I hope you guys caught that video and go ahead and give it a like. But we're going to be looking through the next three assets. So the first one we're going to start with is the Abandoned Hospital. And this is from PackDev. I think I have some other things from them, but let's take a look at these. I see, oh, this is really nice. So this is more abandoned in the sense of like The Last of Us abandoned, and not just a hospital shut down and it's a little rusty abandoned, you know? It's also very, very old. Like, even our modern day hospitals don't use some of the assets that I'm seeing here. So we're looking at historic, old, maybe when there was like this big boom of hospitals right after the germ was discovered and modern medicine was discovered, and we started to learn more new things about the human body. Unfortunately, we were still doing lobotomies back then, so that's kind of where this asset is heading. Well, let's go ahead and jump into Unreal Engine and take a look at it. Alright, and we are loaded into the Abandoned Hospital. Yeah, this is definitely giving me early 1900s sanitarium. Okay, character can't really fit in the room. We'll stare at it from here. Alright. Something's a little off. Aspect ratio of, let's see. You see how thick and how big that bed is? And look how tiny and thin the chairs are. It's like they're on a different scale. And it may seem like I'm just nitpicking. Whatever post-processing effect they have going on here, wow, I do apologize in advance. I'm just cruising through the demo level as I always do. We've got a lot of chromatic aberration going on here. Can we get in? No? I might just have to come out of game mode and do a little bit of a flyover. If I won't be allowed in the room. Oh, okay, I'm not even allowed to go beyond this point. So this is it. It's just these 4 rooms. I do have a body, but it's not letting me in. Here, let's come out of this. And, alright, so I'm out of the game mode. I'm just gonna fly over. Do a little flyover. Alright, we've got a stool. Yeah, now the stool's on the wrong scale for the beds and stuff, I guess. Something just feels off here. Something just feels off. Okay, we've got an old basin here. What I do like is I like how these vines, they all shoot outwards and form sort of like a spiderweb type reef thing. I think that actually looks pretty cool. Even though vines probably wouldn't grow like that, I still like the way it looks. I mean, they've got the ivy down. And the debris all over the floor. I love that. But I'm not finding the assets appealing. Like, something about this stool is just too sharp. Like, the edges need to be beveled or something. I feel like I'm gonna cut my finger if I touch the corner of that. Oh, okay. Nightstand pole. This is for a... let me see. There was this one game jam that was like a PS2 style game jam where you had to make your game just basically look like a PS2 back before we had like decent rendering and stuff. These assets kind of qualify in that category. They aren't really well done, high detailed. They're like sharp corners, the texture. Look how the texture is just like mapped to it or folded over. I have absolutely no idea if this is this person's first item, but like the thickness of this pieces of furniture versus the thickness of the other pieces of furniture is just not cohesive. I don't know where they are in their development journey, so this could be an early piece for them. But yeah, I'm just calling it as I see it. Right as it stands, the ivy, the walls, the debris on the floor, all things that I would most likely use. But the furniture, unless I'm doing one of those old games where I put a filter over it and you can't really see the detail in the sharpness of the quality of the materials, unless I'm covering that up, probably not something that I would use. But if you could find a use for it, that's great. I'm enjoying this brick here, and it's nice. The Paula brick is really well done. It not I don't know any brick that has holes in it like this. Huh. It kind of is like they're mimicking cinder blocks, but on a smaller scale. However, one thing I'll point out is, where are these bricks coming from? Right? I have a pile of bricks here and debris everywhere, but the scenery around it doesn't match. Now, maybe you could argue, oh, it's just a game, it's just there for decor, and people don't think about it that deeply, but I'm here to tell you, at least one person thinks about it that deeply, and that one person is me. It's just that when you're playing a game, if something doesn't fit, like, you notice immediately if it doesn't fit. It stands out immediately. The textures hadn't all loaded in when I pressed play, and I immediately saw this thick piece of furniture and this tiny chair that just didn't match. You kind of see, your eyes are just drawn to the stuff that doesn't match, because it's kind of a break in the pattern, and you go into the game expecting it to be cohesive, and so that sort of breaks up the pattern for my eyes. Because then again, we've got the thick metal on those beds, and now we have baby cribs here, and the metal is pencil thin. All right, it just doesn't match up. It feels off. That's all I'm saying. What, I just panned into a room full of bricks, the bricks from nowhere. I love the lights, though these lights aren't usually hung this way. And now I am just nitpicking, but bar lights like this are usually fused up here, or they have multiple points to hold them up. If you hold them from the center like this, they'll just be spinning around out of control. That's why they usually have 2 points of contact for holding them up. And even though it may sound picky, and probably is a little too picky, when I'm 3D modeling, I always make sure I look up references. So if you look up a reference, you would have known how to hang that light, you know? If you looked up a reference on ivy, you'd have known it doesn't grow in a star spiderweb shape like this. Like, you would know if you looked up a reference. So feels a bit thrown together, but it's cool. I see some pieces I can use, some I cannot. What is this peanut shaped bed? What is this meant to be? I'm completely unsure. Maybe you wash something in it. Okay. And then we have this tray here, a dentist seat maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these assets are definitely good for a mock PS1 or PS2 style game where things like, you know, you've got your repeated textures. People usually aren't bothered if it's meant to look like an old game before we had good technology and high resolution. So the repeated textures would fit right in. But yeah, that's that asset. I mean, I'm definitely going to scoop up those bricks. I'll use them for something. But that's probably about it when it comes to this, other than the debris on the ground and the ivy. Yeah, I do still like the ivy, but that's what I'm getting from the kit. Why don't you go ahead and leave me a comment to let me know how you feel about this kit and whether or not you are going to be able to use it. But you've got 2 weeks to download it, so 2 weeks from today, get it before it's gone. Alright, let's take a look at our third and final free object of the week. Alright, this next asset that we're going to be looking at is the conference slash meeting room environment from Tenor. Now, these are a developer that I'm actually not familiar with, and it's a shame because these assets look so high quality. I've never seen this designer before, and I don't have. Do I have anything that they've made? At, did they make that office environment? Let me double check. Do I have anything from Tenor? I do not. They appear to be very new. But there was an office environment that I had that had like this brick wall, this type of window and doors and things, and I thought maybe they could be associated. Anyhow, I love these foosball tables. I am really good at them, but most recently, I seen a guy do some amazing things. He was passing it back and forth in the same row, and then really quickly he would pass it from like player goalie, player second player goalie, third player goalie, fourth player goalie, like down the row, passing it back and forth between his own goalie. It was amazing. I'm good, but I'm not that good. Anyway, this is supposed to be a conference and a meeting room, but it looks like they do all play and no work gets done around here. Okay, I'm seeing some decent quality assets. I won't go as far as to say super high quality. Some of it looks a little texture wise, it looks a bit off, and then the shape of the chair looks a bit stiff. Let's just use the word stiff. It looks a bit stiff. That's what I'm getting at. It's definitely hitting that like super modern theme, but it's really running me like late 2000, early like 2010s, after yeah, it looks a little minimalist, but I don't know. Something's off about it. There's always those things where you can like something's off about it and you stare at it and you get this weird visceral reaction, but you're not exactly sure why you're reacting that way. It's just something feels off. I couldn't work in front of a glass like this. Every time someone walks past, I would just wonder what people are doing, who's passing me by. I get no work done in this office environment. Okay. It looks nice, but I don't. Again, something about it is rubbing me the wrong way. Like, it's open, it's airy, but it's kind of industrial. Maybe like a repurposed warehouse type of look. There were definitely. It's definitely like 2010s. Like when they made like every TV show had The Office looking like this during that time period, where it's like it's in to be like unfinished or like exposed brick, and oh, it's grungy, but look at the expensive furniture. We've moved into this grungy unkept place. Very, very weird style. Anyway, I'm gonna have to jump directly in to see for myself. I see pipes, but so now that I see those, do we have an unfinished ceiling as well? Because those, oh no, it's not really unfinished. It's completely solid, but that kind of came with that aesthetic. The unfinished, how do you call those ceilings? Vaulted, exposed. I don't know the term for it. However, it's that feel. Let's go ahead and look at these assets inside of Unreal Engine. Alright, we are in the conference room. We don't have a body, so it's just a little flyover. And first impressions, it looks a whole lot better in person than it did in those rendered images. Beanbag chairs? I love a comfy beanbag chair. My goodness. Alright, nice laptop that we get. Now, I have plenty of different things with laptops in them, plenty of sets, but you know, it won't hurt to have one that's like a slightly different color, size, or shape. Oh, one thing. Okay, okay. This exposed brick here, it's a decal. I want to say it's a decal. It looks like it's just like drawn on. It doesn't actually look 3D. It might be a decal, which means you can apply that to any wall. That would be really awesome. However, it looks like there is only one decal, and I can see the repeated texture pattern going across there. And you know how I feel about repeated patterns. So walking around is very difficult, but okay. I have nice little knickknacks to go on any shelf. And here's the awesome table. Like if this guy was on the blue team, oh, there were more people. There was like a row of four. So what he would do is he'd pass it between like all of his people back there, and each pass would go between one of his other blue people and the goalie, really rapidly, like back and forth, never missing a catch. It was amazing. He might not have been human. All right, let's keep going along. I've seen this. I have seen this type of leather chair in basically any furniture asset pack. So even though this is nice and well done, it's a little bit overwhelming because the assets that are supplied are nothing different than all of the random assets you collect over the years to fill up a room. That stuff the extra space, the things that you throw in the extra space to fill up a room, whether it's the mugs or food on the plate or just magazines thrown everywhere, kind of have that here and there. Yep, stool, another coffee table with more books and magazines thrown about, a standard plant that people cannot tell one from the other. I'm gonna be real honest. I feel like I have a different kit, and that's kind of what confused me and made me think that this guy made the other one. I feel like I have a kit that already has a lot of this stuff in it, and maybe it's not the same exact stuff, but it's very close. All right, is this the ooh? Time to grab some fuel. Now these chairs are really nicely done. Okay, I like that. I haven't seen that design everywhere. Is this supposed to be a wall of... What is this supposed to be? A wall of vines or something? Like a bush? You know how they put like little bushes or meditation walls behind glass? It might have been nice if you put waterfall there. Waterfall. Okay, another work spot and food thrown. Little plants here. Okay. Again, nothing to write home about, but it just feels like it's one of those things that you would tear apart and use to fill up the empty space in your level. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. Not to diminish the work that this creator has done. It's good work. It's just not exceptional, or it's also very, very common. Like these are common everyday items, so you'll see them in any game thrown anywhere. Books are everywhere, you know? Small green plants are everywhere. Coffee, mugs, croissant on food, it's everywhere. I even have this a similar water cooler, right? So it's nice, and I'm very thankful. It was a free kit, but also it's average, you know. I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the kit. Let's just say that, right? You can get tiny donuts anywhere. I haven't seen anything that showed me that like, wow, if this wasn't for free, I would definitely pick up this kit. Nah. Can I go in? No. Do they even? I don't know if they give us bathroom assets. Maybe they don't. Okay, what's through here? Waiting room. Ooh, a nice reception desk. That's really neat. Or something neat to have if you're doing any kind of office. You always want that front reception to have someone sitting there. These doors are quite nice as well. I think the height's off for the character that I have, but they're nice. Is that floor tile on the ceiling? Suppose they is that, wait a second, that's wood planks on the ceiling as well. Okay, that usually wouldn't go there, but okay. Ooh, now this executive chair looks quite nice, even though I still feel like I have a similar one. Thinking outside the box. There we go. Curved monitor. More paper just strewn about. You know, for an office, I'm finding a lack of not just paper, but pens, utensil, like a pencil or a pen or chalk or a whiteboard marker, stuff like that. I'm finding none of for an office. Like this, I have a keyboard and a monitor and a mouse, but there's no console. So that's missing. A console is missing. Cords and cables are all over the place when you have an office. So stuff like that is missing. And you know what? I haven't really found any kit that actually includes really nice cords. You know, cords that you just connect to anything and plug in. I haven't really seen any nice cord bundles. You usually have to make them yourself with splines. And I had this one, like literally one asset was not abandoned but just a regular hospital, and they had a computer where the cords come from there. And then I had another asset, I think, that had a power strip in it. Oh, here's the whiteboard I had mentioned, but there are no whiteboard markers, right? Maybe that's a whiteboard marker or something. There's much to be done. You're telling me. Market trends. These chairs, okay, back to the nice chairs. Again, there's a pen. Finally, I found one writing utensil in this entire office. Alright, well, that's the office. And if you don't want to use it as an office, it kind of screams like minimalist bachelor pad, you know, where they converted an old fire station to apartments or condos or something like that. That's kind of the feeling it's giving me. Definitely from the 2010s. But that's it for this asset. Let's go ahead and take a look at number 2 on the list. And last but not least, we are going to be looking at the VFX melee weapon system. So it's melee weapon aura VFX, energy auras, glow and effects for melee weapons. Why do I feel like a couple weeks ago they gave us something similar? But I think it was still glowing, but I believe it was for weapons or whatever pickups from the ground. So it was like floating or hovering pickups that you would pick from the ground. So think like XP, or like if you're doing like a twin stick shooter and the XP falls on the ground, that's like glowing, or like health or something like that. So now we have glowing weapons, and this looks so cool. That's like actual sparks and everything. So let's see how is this a glow that goes around the weapon? Is it like VFX that's attached to a static mesh and it takes the shape of the static mesh? Oh my goodness, this one actually just looks like the light aura beams are just cruising on through, kind of like a comet or a shooting star. That's what that gives me. Okay, that's definitely is giving me like comet. Okay, so I see axes here. Okay, it's not just for long swords, broadswords, and a clock hand. The second hand on a clock, the hour hand on a clock. Okay. Okay, we have a little dagger. Sparks are flying off of it. Oh, I've only just noticed from this image. Look at the ground beneath everything. I am so bad at doing VFX, but I absolutely love how people put these VFX together. They're layers upon layers of just different designs, and when you break it down layer by layer, it looks so simple, but it would never be me to come up with such a design, to do these like creative sparks and then have the actual object glow, and then knowing that the spark should just like shoot out in this direction. It's always baffled me, but this is okay. This might be my favorite one. It has the sparks, and then it has this right here, this swirl going up, but the swirl actually looks like individual slashes. I have absolutely no idea how they made that, but it's time to jump into Unreal Engine and take a look at how these are put together. But before we do, since this, oh wow, look how many they come with. You could use this for anything. Like, even if you didn't use it for a weapon, I can just see magic circles on the ground for any type of like RPG or ability or shield or attack ability. And you've got the circle where it will land, or where the glow would surround the player. I'm seeing so many different uses for this. But anyway, before we jump into Unreal Engine and look at these, I just wanted to point out one more thing I'm kind of doing differently here. I've noticed that after I collect the assets, I usually download everything first and then show them, but what that did was that wouldn't allow me to see the pricing, and sometimes people don't get to pick up the assets in time. So what I've gone ahead and done, and only mentioned just now, is throughout the recording of the other two, you'll see the actual listing price here at the discount, just in case someone's watching the video in the future. I've just noticed that I'm like, oh, it's a really fair price, but I'll say that knowing, because I know it's a fair price, but they won't get to see how much it costs beforehand. So this would have run you about, it looks like $37.49, so about $40, and looks like they charge a different price for the personal and the professional. I don't usually do that one, but yeah. So you'll notice that the pricing is set there in each of them, and I'm recording them out of order now. It does take a little bit more effort on my part to mix and match them, but I'm hoping that that will be to someone's benefit, just having the actual price still listed up there and then jumping into the environments a little bit later. So go ahead and leave a comment letting me know whether or not you found that a bit more helpful, or if it doesn't matter to you, or like the video if you haven't already. Go ahead, subscribe, and hey, tell a friend. Now, this is the one I'm going to be the most excited about. Alright. Wait a second. Swords not included? Are swords not included? Maybe I should have read. I am trying to step up to the start. It is lagging me out so bad. Did it crash? Don't crash. This is, okay. It just, I don't know what happened. It crashed, took away all the shaders, and now it's reloading them. But anyway, documentation, these effects. Oh no, okay, we do get swords. I was so confused. Okay. These effects are created using a simplified version of the Advanced Overlay Shader, specifically designed for Niagara effects for melee weapons. Oh. Okay, so they built in an effect for melee weapons. I've never used that before, but then again, I guess I don't really have a game design that uses melee weapons. But I play them and I still haven't seen it before, so that's pretty darn cool though. You can achieve an infinite number of variations just by adjusting the parameters. In the scene, you can see 60 examples. Can I really see 60 examples? Because I think it's lagging me out. So, are they static mesh objects here? Niagara effects for melee weapons. Okay. Alright, so in path 1, melee weapon are VFX. And you know what the most special thing is? For anyone who hasn't used or doesn't know how to use, they've in the demo included a comprehensive, look at that whole wall, a comprehensive documentation. That's some dedication right there. And this was the asset that I was most excited about this week. And I can't wait to jump in and design this. So you can even get a lightsaber look. Look at that. That looks like it has an entire galaxy. Well, actually, for a minute, there was a dark spot. So I guess this texture is sliding and it'll come back around. It actually made it look like there was a galaxy inside the weapon there. Oh, we're just going to cruise through and look at a few of these and read the documentation. To apply it on the weapon, you need to select it in. So you've got your melee, you've got your static mesh. Okay, the next section is for color. Depending on the length of the weapon, you may need to adjust the height where the effect starts. Okay, that's why this one's tiny. Alright, so it says it's for melee weapons, but I could use this for anything. Right? Like my character just touches something strange, and then my character's hand just starts glowing like this at the tip of it. I don't know. That's the first thing I could think of. Okay, this is. Oh, I love the ice blue. All right, so they're saying because these are different heights, they started the effect at a different location. Oh, this is so awesome. The remaining parameters can significantly affect the overall look. They are most intuitive except for a few. Sparks drag controls the declaration of sparks. Oh, okay. Sparks height determines when they'll appear, and the midpoint for sparks height they prefer you leave it untouched. Next up, we have there are many parameters in the settings, and I do not want to overload you by explaining what each one does. You know what? Please overload me. Moreover, I would even say that you do not need to know all of them. I understand. It's the same way every time I dig into VFX. The Niagara particle system is so vast, so expansive. I do not know every single one. I don't know anyone that knows every single effect that it does. However, you kind of have to go in it with the idea first and then figure out how to tweak the settings to get your one specific idea done, because the next time you go in for different VFX, it's going to be a whole new different ball game. Yeah, there's a high learning curve for Niagara particles, but that's all right. You know, it's one of those things that trial and error is actually a good thing. You try out a bit of buttons, you make a few errors, and then sometimes you come out with a happy accident. Well, most of the times you come out with a happy accident. Other times you're frustrated and just banging your head. So there are many parameters in the settings. Okay, we read that one. We have two categories, colors and global. In color, we choose two colors and adjust their blending. Look at that. Ooh, nicely blended like bubblegum. In global, you'll find the height mask settings, which determine part of the weapon to be affected. Okay, if I want to use my own custom weapon, do I have to make my own height mask, or is it numbers and it masks off depending on the numbers for any static mesh? I'm wondering. Let's have a look at that. That green one's nice. See, now that you look at them up close, this is what I was referring to when I said once you get in and you look at the particle, it's kind of like you've looked at the magic, or the magician has shown his secret, because now it just seems so simple, right? You've got a texture scrolling upwards here, and then you've just got lines of sparks continuously scrolling downwards there, and together it makes a cool effect, but it just looks more magical when it was being displayed and the photos of it were being taken. You can enable color variations, and then the first texture appears for mask. It's used to diversify colors with different shades. Okay, so we've got all different colors, and we can adjust them that way. Oh, this looks so cool. I'm willing to argue that you don't necessarily have to have oh my goodness, what is this? You don't necessarily have to have a weapon. I want to argue that. All right, now this one's interesting. Now at first I thought that was a texture, and then things were going over it, but it actually looks like Wow, an infinite galaxy with fireworks on them. This looks like a flat design, but then again, the design is having a wave attached to it. Huh. I don't know if this is like a black texture with stars on it and the stars are just waving, or like, I don't, what would you call it, starburst? The or uh, or is it just waves going across? Or are the starbursts another layer? Or is that the base texture that's on the weapon? I don't know. All I know is it looks so cool from far away. And you want to know something? Black Ops 6 is coming out soon, and this just reminded me of one of the COD skins I've got on some of my weapons. This is how they do it. I've only just made that connection in my head. So now we can do it too. Wow. Look, this is seriously in depth. I suggest you go on and grab yourself this while you can, while it's actually free for the next 2 weeks. Get it yourself, go in, tweak it, get all the color, mix and match all the colors, learn to use the system. I think it's quite versatile. I don't think you need to have a weapon. I think this could work on just about anything. Maybe it was designed with weapons in mind, but I'm going to take a deep dive into it. No sense in doing it now because I'm just going to sit here and ooh and all over it. And you can just be downloading it yourself and oohing and awing and figuring out how to apply it to your games. So that's it for this week's free items. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Don't forget to leave a comment, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one. Oh, this is going to be so cool.